Get your filthy hands off my dress!
Oh, help! Oh.
Please help me! Stupid old thing. Watch where you're walking next time.
The Rolls-Royce pulled away, and Adaure Nwachinaeto did not look back once. She never looked back. That was the whole problem with her, though she would have called it confidence. At 24, she had learned that the world bent easily for a girl who looked like her. Doors opened, men paid, women envied and copied. She grew up in a duplex in the good part of town, the only daughter of a father who imported cars and a mother who worshipped the ground her beauty walked on. Whatever Adaure wanted, Adaure received, and whatever displeased her simply disappeared from her sight. She had come to the riverside that evening for a photo shoot. Nothing more. Her stylist wanted the golden light, the water, the quiet. Adaure wanted the likes that would follow. She had draped herself in white lace and stood posing while the old woman shuffled too close, carrying a small basket of ugu leaves, muttering a greeting nobody asked for. When that trembling hand brushed her elbow, something ugly rose in Adaure, and her body moved before her mind could catch it. Now she sat in the back seat scrolling her phone, already forgetting. The driver, an older man named Obiajulu, watched her in the mirror and said nothing. His jaw was tight. He had seen the whole thing. He had seen the woman go under. "Faster," Adaure said, not lifting her eyes. "I have dinner at 8. Obiajulu pressed the accelerator, but his hands were shaking on the wheel. He knew that face by the river. Every driver in the city knew that face. He wanted to speak, to warn her, to tell her what she had done. Instead, he swallowed it, because girls like this one did not listen, and because a poor man learns quickly that some truths cost him his bread. What Adaure did not know was that her phone, sitting so carelessly in her manicured hand, held a video. The boy fishing quietly on the far bank had filmed everything: the shove, the scream, the wrapper opening in the water like a wound. By morning, the whole state would watch it. By evening, it would reach the one man who could turn her golden life to ash. She smiled at her reflection in the tinted glass, satisfied, glowing, untouchable. She thought this was the worst thing that would happen to her all week. Behind her, 3 fishermen had already dragged a coughing woman from the current. One of them recognized her immediately and dropped to his knees in the mud. "Ne," he whispered, "Nne Ozoemena. Is it you? Chineke, what did they do to you?" The woman opened her eyes, water streaming down her face, and she did not cry. She only stared back toward the road where the black car had vanished, and something quiet and terrible settled into her expression. She had seen the girl's face too. She would remember it. And somewhere across the city, in a glass tower that scraped the clouds, her son's phone was about to ring. Who do you think called Ekwueme first? And what will he do when he sees his mother's face? Comment below, and if your heart is racing, Ekwueme Maduabuchi was in a board meeting when his phone lit up for the 4th time. He silenced it once, twice, then saw the name of his mother's oldest neighbor flashing on the screen, and something cold touched the back of his neck. He excused himself and stepped into the hallway. "Nwokem," the old woman on the line was sobbing. "They pushed your mother into the river. A girl pushed her. She almost died. Come home. Come home now." The glass walls of the tower seemed to tilt. Ekwueme did not remember walking to the elevator. He did not remember the drive. He only remembered his mother's face when he reached the small house by the water, her wrapper still damp, a blanket around her shoulders, her hands folded quietly in her lap, the way they always were when she was hurting and refusing to show it. He knelt in front of her like a boy again. This was the woman who had sold roasted corn under the sun for 18 years to send him to school. This was the woman who ate gari and water some nights so he could have a full plate. He had built her a mansion in the estate 3 years ago, and she had refused it, saying her river, her market, her old friends were her life. So he let her stay. And now someone had dared. "Mama," he said, his voice breaking. "Who did this?" She looked at him for a long moment. She saw the fury already gathering in his eyes, the storm that could destroy anyone he pointed it at, and part of her wanted to protect the world from her son more than she wanted revenge. "Leave it, Ekwueme," she whispered. "God saw it. Leave it to God." But then one of the fishermen stepped forward, phone in his hand, and everything changed. "Olga, we have it here. Everything. A small boy recorded it." Ekwueme took the phone. He watched a beautiful girl in white lace shove his trembling mother into the current like she was throwing away rubbish. He watched her wipe her elbow. He heard her voice, clear and cruel, calling his mother a stupid old thing. He watched her flip her hair and disappear into a Rolls-Royce he could have bought 100 times over. He watched it again, then a third time, and with each viewing, the grief in his chest hardened into something sharper and colder and far more dangerous. The man who had spent his life being gentle, who gave scholarships to strangers and paid hospital bills he never spoke about, felt that gentleness quietly close its eyes and go to sleep. "Find her," he said to his head of security, who had followed him from the tower. His voice was very soft now, and softness from Ekwueme was the thing men feared most. "I want her name, her family, her home, everything. Do not touch her. Bring the whole life to me. I will deal with it myself." Across the city, Adaure was laughing at a restaurant, wine glass in hand, when her phone would not stop buzzing. Her friends had gone silent, staring at their screens, then staring at her. "Ada," one of them said slowly, turning her phone around, "is this you?" There she was, in white lace, pushing an old woman into a river, filmed clearly for all the world to see. 40,000 views, then 80. The numbers were climbing like a fever. The comments were a wall of fire. "Wicked girl, heartless, find her, someone find her, God will judge her." Adaure's smile faded slowly. "It is nothing," she said, but her voice wobbled for the first time in years. "It was just some old market woman. People are overreacting as usual." Her friend stared at her, and for the first time Adaure saw something in those familiar eyes that she had never seen directed at herself. Disgust. "Adaure," the girl said quietly, gathering her bag, "that old market woman is Nne Ozoemena. Do you not know whose mother she is?" The name meant nothing to Adaure. She shrugged, annoyed, reaching for her wine again. Then her friend said the second name, and the glass slipped from Adaure's fingers and shattered across the marble floor. Every head in the restaurant turned. Her blood turned to ice water in her veins, because everyone in the city knew that name. It was on buildings. It was on the university block. It was on the biggest bank on the island, and now it belonged to the one man on earth who had every reason to erase her. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Her hand trembled as she answered. A calm, quiet, terrifying voice spoke into her ear. "Adaure Nwachinaeto, we need to talk about your mistake." "Who is this?" Adaure whispered, though her shaking hands already knew. "You will find out soon enough," the voice said. "Go home, Adaure. Wait there. Someone is coming for you." The line went dead. She sat frozen while her friends quietly stood, one after another, and left her alone at the table. These were the same girls who begged for her attention only that morning. Now they could not look at her. Money and beauty had bought them, and money and beauty were now leaving her, and she felt the cold truth of it for the first time in her pampered life. She drove home like a mad woman. The gate of her father's duplex stood open, and 3 black cars she did not recognize were already parked in the compound. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Inside, her father sat sunken in his chair, grey in the face, older than she had ever seen him. Her mother was weeping into her wrapper. "Adaure," her father said, and his voice had no strength in it. "What have you done to us?" It was not a question. On the table lay documents. The bank that held every loan for her father's car importation business belonged to Ekwueme Maduabuchi. The land their duplex sat on had a lien her father had signed years ago, tied to the same man's holdings. In one afternoon, the accounts had been frozen, the shipment at the port had been seized, the empire her father spent 30 years building had been touched by a single hand, and it was crumbling like wet sand. "He wants you," her father said. "Only you. He says if you come to him yourself, he will not destroy us completely. If you run, he takes everything and lets you rot." Adaure had never in her life carried the weight of another person's ruin. She had never once thought that her actions could reach beyond her own pleasure. Now she looked at her father's broken face, at her mother's tears, at the beautiful house that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else, and something inside her cracked open. For the first time, she felt shame, real shame, hot and suffocating, the kind that could not be fixed with a new dress or a filtered photo. "I will go," she said quietly. Her mother grabbed her arm. "You cannot. Do you know what men like that do to a girl who has wronged them? You are my only child. You raised her to think she was a queen," her father snapped through his tears. "This is where it has brought us." The words struck Adaure harder than any slap. She had always believed her arrogance was strength. Standing in that living room, watching her parents turn on each other because of her, she understood for the first time that it had only ever been rot dressed as gold. The next morning, a car came for her. Not the driver's seat this time, but the back, like a prisoner. Obiajulu, the same driver who had watched her push an old woman into a river, was behind the wheel again. He did not meet her eyes in the mirror the way she once demanded. Now she was the one who could not look up. "You knew," she said softly, halfway through the silent drive, by the river. "You knew who she was. Why did you not tell me?" The old man was quiet for a long moment. "Would you have listened, Nne?" he said at last. "You never listened to anybody your whole life." A person only hears the truth when their mouth has finally tasted the ground. She had no answer, because he was right. The car climbed a long private road up a hill she had only ever seen from a distance, to a mansion of glass and white stone that overlooked the whole city. The gates opened without a sound, and standing at the top of the marble steps, hands in his pockets, was a tall man in a plain black shirt, watching her come like a hawk watches something small crossing an open field. He was younger than she expected, handsome in a way that made her hate herself for even noticing it now. His face held no anger at all. That was the terrifying part. There was nothing there but a cold, patient stillness, the look of a man who already held her whole future in his hand and was in no hurry to close his fingers. Beside him, seated in a chair, wrapped in a soft shawl, was the old woman from the river. Nne Ozoemena, alive, watching Adaure with those same quiet, unreadable eyes. Adaure's legs almost gave way as she climbed the steps. She opened her mouth to speak, to beg, to explain. "Do not talk," Ekwueme said gently. "You will listen now. For once in your life, you will listen." What is Ekwueme planning to do with her? And why is his mother watching so silently? Is this punishment, or is something stranger beginning? Tell me in the comments what you think he will say, and subscribe now, because part 2 will steal your breath.